Welcome to the very special episode of Plat Chat. Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Special episode, bro. Listen, we got the latest juice. Dallas Fuel and Paris Eternal, the two teams are going to be discussing in and out. I was busy hibernating, and I get called up 10 minutes. You got to be online. You got to be on the webcam because we got a special breaking news episode. Is it breaking news at this point? The news has been out for a while.
But I mean, it's still kind of breaking. It's like in the process of being broken.
Okay, well, let's start at the top with Dallas Fuel. Boom. Probably, would you say, the biggest failure of the past 2 years?
What the fuck? Biggest failure? No, dude.
The Shanghai Dragons went. Oh, the Shanghai Dragons went 0-40. There's nothing that will ever. They'll always be one of the biggest.
I mean, the
failures,
Washington Justice have also just been tragic.
It's a little joke.
In the
It's a little
tournament.
joke. Okay,
Entertainment thieves.
I actually completely forgot that we've done 3 years of the Overwatch League. Wow, that's crazy.
It's been a long time.
You were only present for one.
Mentally present.
Mentally,
for one.
Yeah, mentally present. You were only there for one. Yeah, you were physically present for the other two.
Let's start from the top, though, the tippity top. So, Dallas Fuel, who have they got rid of?
Everybody outside of Doha.
Yeah.
I forgot you weren't on last week, the free agency show. Yeah. They've gotten rid of everybody but Doha. I think Young is still on, Josh?
Young is still on. Actually, in the previous episode, I forgot the guy's name. He's like their temporary head coach. I forgot his name and I called him Dong. But his name is Young.
Young, yes. His name is Young.
Fucking hell. Oh, no.
So they... Oh, yeah. So that's interesting.
What, that they sent home all the players you thought they were going to send home?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Let's be real. But I think we should honestly start with the coaching because this is a team that has always, especially the Dallas fans, always been jumping at the jugular of Dallas based on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Remember they had Kai for a time. Did they have Kai? Was Kai GM?
Yeah. Kai was
the coach, right?
Yeah.
And then he became the GM of...
No, and then he went to the Outlaws as like a coach.
He did like a temporary spree in the Outlaws, and he went to assistant.
And then he went to Paris.
And
then he went to Paris.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Talking about Kai.
Ancient history.
Bren brought it up.
Nobody cares. But it's always been kind of the Achilles heel of this team has been the coaching staff. Would you guys agree with that?
I think it's the rosters.
I think it's
I mean, you got two Achilles heels, so it could be the coaches on one side and the players on the other.
But that it just heals at that point.
But can the coach do anything to, like, maybe you could have made an argument like this year's roster was probably the best equipped to be good. But like, what were you doing in year, like with the way things happened year one? Like no coach was fixing that.
But also,
I mean,
this is my
only if you gave the coach the like power to be able to do that. We don't know whether the coaches had the powers to be able to rehaul the roster. I don't know whether that was their say, like whether Aero could have said it
when Aero was there. Yeah, because we said 2019, like Aero, like, oh, this is Aero's chance to rebuild the roster. And I was like, let's pick up Note and Gamsu, and I'm like, hold on, like, really?
You're thinking, I guess, I mean, Aero did have the chance to do it last year
and the year before though, because he was brought in at the end of 2018. Yeah. But we don't know whether he ever really had the power. Or
the power to do that.
When I look at these teams, I put a lot of emphasis on the coaching staff for in the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
You guys know this.
We've seen your
everyone else
good.
abacus ranking.
I put a lot of emphasis on the coaching staff.
It's like some fucking conspiracy theorist.
These moves that they've made by adding Rush, the head coach of the Paris Eternal, a team that has had a lot of success previously in last year, at least with a limited roster, honestly. A roster that I would say is quite comparable to Dallas Fuel was last year, to an extent, right? A mixture of players that we assumed were mediocre going into it, and Paris actually, they elevated those players.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of sounds crazy when you first present it like that, but I don't think it's too far apart. Like, your expected level of like the on-paper value of those players was fairly similar between Paris and Dallas.
Bro, the Hanbin, XE, Sparkle, they picked up Fielder.
But
FT got we didn't know that comparing the Paris Eternal to the Dallas Fuel right now.
We didn't know that.
And Dallas
Rush
had
is great.
Doha.
Don't get me wrong, but come on.
Dallas had Doha and Decay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doha and Decay
they're pretty comparable.
Especially because Sp9rk1e was only halfway through the season. Like the beginning rosters that Paris started the year with was very comparable to Dallas.
Nobody was super high on Ben Best or No Smite. I mean, if you were given the option at the beginning of the year between Ben Best, No Smite, and Gamsu, you probably would have wanted Gamsu.
I don't think that's a crazy take. Yeah,
it's not a. I mean, not a crazy take. Like,
Hanbin is a clear outlier to this because he's obviously a better off tank than Note was coming into the season, but like. XC and Decay, it's still a toss-up now. They're both elite level players at the end of the season, and
Rush is really good, is what we're trying to say.
Sure.
But I think they've missed the mark a little bit here.
Who?
Dallas.
Why?
Wait. You mean with the signings of Hanbin and...
No. With the signing of Rush. Because when you look at the Paris Eternal of this team, you didn't need to consider as well that the Paris Eternal was this kind of duo of Rush and 9K.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And 9K has now gone over to the Philadelphia Fusion, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Just make sure you fact check me on a regular basis, because as everybody knows, I'm jaded and don't care about the Overwatch League anymore. So I get this all the time on my stream. That's why I was saying it. I think they may have missed the mark a little bit here, because it's okay. You picked up the head coach of the Paris Eternal, but at the same time, I think that the reason that coaching system was so good was because you had 9K, who came from the San Francisco Shock, which was a team that had already had a proven coaching structure, and it was like a super team when it comes to the coaching staff that Paris was. And I think you've added Rush. Yeah, you should be now expecting good results, but I think they may have missed something by not picking up 9K alongside him.
Rush was incredible before in Element Mystic as well, right? Because going into the offseason last year, we were like, okay, where is Sparkle going and where is Rush going? Because Rush was the hottest coach on the market at the time, Element Mystic. Yeah. And like his accolades like speak for themselves in contenders as well. So I do agree with you, Bren, that 9K was like a huge component of Paris Eternal that we should not forget. But at the same time, I do think that Rush on his own, is a fantastic individual. They just need to like separate the GM and the head coaching job, because you need Rush, just allow Rush to do his way.
Well, 9K ends up going to Philly, right?
Yeah.
So I think he probably had something where he didn't want to be an assistant anymore, didn't want to just kind of follow along to the Dallas fuel.
Yeah.
And I think this is good for Dallas because it gives them somewhat like consistency, right? This is a team. Let me read you this. These are all of the players they have gone through in the first 2 seasons.
Don't know.
Gamsu, AKM, Closer, Trill, Note, Paintbush, Crimzo, Onigod, Unco, Harry Hook, Decay, Zachary, Mickey, Taimu, OG, Effect, RCK, Coco, Chips, Seagull, Rascal, Custa, NXQC. 23 players. How many of those players are still signed to a team? Currently 1.
That's really funny, but also loved how you didn't.
The only player out of those 23 who's currently signed to a team.
Some of the others will. Some of the others will get.
Yeah, I think some of the others
AKM, Trill, Unco have all retired. Seagull's retired. You're saying like closer, Note, Paintbush, Crimzo end up on a team.
What's your point?
They needed to build with a core who had some kind of relationship to each other that was going to stick it out for a bit. Like,
yeah, it's a good point.
The people like they probably wanted to come into the league last year, the Element Mystic crew, and kind of form their own squad, and they couldn't probably find anywhere to do it. The best option was Paris, where they could take all of them, have a large portion of like their influence be the roster. But now that you can have Dallas open up, where they have Doha, who they've played with in the past, and they have no coaching staff, and they have no other players, it's a perfect opportunity to kind of get the boys back together, right? Yeah. And for Dallas, very good. They need players in a group that's dedicated to each other, because you can't just keep going through players like I just listed. I mean, I can name the coaches. I mean, we have a billion list of coaches here that we've gone through too.
How many did you guys remember?
I want Matt to list the coaches. I think that'll be funny as well.
Vol'jin, Arrow, Tickety, Jane, but he's on as a content creator. Coco was a coach.
Yeah.
Thanks, coach.
Coco is a coach. Peak, Damon, Kai, Violet, they've gone through so many people. They just need to.
I will say, I'll add on to this, Matt, what you were saying about them needing to build around this, just a core, right? Which is, I mean, the easiest way to do that is just take some successful team from contenders and transfer it over. I completely forgot about this. Young was on the coaching staff with Rush in Element Mystic.
Yeah, was he the assistant coach?
I think he was the assistant coach back in the day alongside Rush for Element Mystic.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that.
That was why Young posted that tweet saying like something. What did he tweet?
Yeah, he was with Element Mystic.
Yeah. Let me find. Oh, here he is. Fuel Young. Let's go, baby. Keep talking. Keep talking.
I also madness, I do want to also point out though the 9K thing would be really important if they were going for a mixed roster, because obviously, I mean, from what we'd heard from the Paris people, 9K is the guy that was communicating to the Western-speaking players and the Korean-speaking players together. He's bilingual and fluent in both, and that's not the case for Rush. He might have been working on his English or his French while he was with Paris, but from when he started the team, he was not bilingual. His English was not that powerful. So this is going to be a full Korean roster. They're going to really simplify things. This is what I actually really like about the Dallas Fuel approach, is they have just fucked things up repeatedly in terms of making things too complex for themselves. Picking up people who wanted to be streamers, trying to mesh different teams together, swapping roles around. And they just needed to simplify shit. Wipe the slate clean, get a team of core of players you know can perform, one language, coaches that have already worked with the players, slot in some good talents, pay big money for guaranteed success. This is the easiest way of doing it.
Because Dallas, from obviously everything that I've worked with, like from with Stro and Tasmo, like the organization is solid. You know, it's not like sometimes we talk like the organization is just kind of crazy. It's just I feel like sometimes with the Dallas Fuel specifically, they've just tried to do a billion things at once, where they just needed to do like one simple thing, which I think for a while was like just rip the Band-Aid off and just find like a mostly intact team, bring them in if they want to add a piece or two, sure, and just go for it. For whatever reason, they just didn't do that early on. But I think now with this reset, I think this is the perfect option for them to go with, right? They do say they're doing open tryouts. But I have to assume there are more signings linked to this coming, like a Jexay is free, Repel is free.
I don't know if they pick up these players though. Here's the thing: I think they should have their pick of the litter this year with the teams. It's pretty clear if you look at the teams in terms of the way that teams are going to be going into next year. I've said this on stream a bunch of times, but like COVID has fucked so many aspects of just business. And a lot of teams are going to be probably looking to save money next year.
Of business. So, what about life? We still can't go outside.
I know. Trust me. You don't need to listen.
You wouldn't anyway, Matt. Don't worry.
There's a good chance. There's a good chance. I try and avoid. I'm always social distancing.
But these early pickups,
by 30 feet. 30
these
feet.
early pickups, you're going to be able to see who is going to be trying to build and actually spend money this year.
Yes.
And it's going to be probably less than there were in the previous years. And I think a lot more teams are going to be going the Boston or Valiant route. I mean, Boston obviously because they've just literally picked up their existing team.
Which I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think that's fine though.
Yeah, it is fine. The point I'm making is,
it's fine if you actually do the Valiant approach and it works. If you end up picking up crap players, and
you need the coach. You need to spend money, I think, in the structure, in the coaching staff, for that to work. Like the reason that worked with Valiant is because they had Packing 10 and a good coaching structure around that. But what I wanted to add on to your point was that I think you can read the tea leaves, if you will, and you can see which teams are going to be spending the money. Dallas Fuel seems to be one of them.
Yeah.
And off the back of that, they should have their pick of the litter for talent this year.
Yeah, and Yiska had a great tweet about that, which essentially like in retrospective, in like 1 or 2 years, I think we're gonna look back at this offseason as like a great time where you should have bought the dip, which essentially means that like when everyone else is selling or like trying to, maybe, save some money because of COVID and everything, that is when you should have gone in. And that is when you should have established this kind of foundation that the Dallas Fuel are now doing. And I think with the initial pickups that they now picked up, like there's arguably not a better foundation you could have started with now going into this season than the players they currently have. I don't know how they're going to round out the roster, but picking up so many players and coaches from Element Mystic is just so fantastic, because that was like the team that was so exciting to watch in Korean Contenders. That wasn't Runaway. Okay, you had Runaway, which was like the fan favorite. Like it's Runner and his boys. You got Kaiser and Bumper and everything. Element Mystic was like not the outsider, but they were like this very exciting, aggressive kind of team. There were like no prisoners taken, and fan favoritism aside and everything like that. Element Mystic was like the consistent performer with top tier results, and I think this is like such a basic foundation for Dallas Fuel specifically to build on, because now you get the chance to like to channel that kind of attitude as well, and not like try to cater to the fans too much or like build on like fan favorite players. Now you're just going for performance. You want the best of the best, and you want to win, and these guys know how to do it.
I think for Paris, you do lose these players, but for
interrupt, really important. I found a tweet from Young. He said, "I'm so excited. My king is coming." Side eyes.
Side eyes.
So
that was at Rush.
Yeah. This was before Rush was signed. He just tweeted, "I'm so excited. My king is coming." Side eyes. And I'm like,
what a tweet!
Let's go.
That's an excellent tweet. From Paris's point of view, I don't hate this either. So you do kind of obviously lose out on the coach. But if you're not going to re-sign Fielder, right? Which they kind of came out and said, I think Avala said they weren't like planning on doing. It seemed like they were trending towards more of an EU roster anyway. So you obviously wipe the slate clean on terms of like coaches, right? With the Russian 9K gone, you don't have Hanbin, you don't have Sp9rk1e. Xy's still on the roster though. That's correct.
Yes, that's really weird to me.
So potentially you're able to trade him, let him end up somewhere else, and you start as like trying to build almost like how London is building, right? You're building like one of these EU squads.
They already tried that though, and they failed. You already tried that, and you didn't really like. People are fans of Paris at the moment because they're French and because they were successful and because they had these guys on. So I feel
they'll
like
be French.
I think that this is a bad move for Paris, but I think they must have been given so many buckets of doubloons that they really don't care, because Dallas probably paid out the ass for these players.
Yeah,
they don't have any coaches.
Yeah, they
don't have any active coaches.
Who the hell do they pick up? Because if you want to do the Valiant approach, who do you actually pick up as the coach? Because it relies so much on that good scouting.
I could see them picking up somebody like Fefe, the guy who's with Toronto.
I mean, he was literally with Paris, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was with Paris. I could totally see them bringing him back. Clock
to 2018 when you went 3 and 4 in every stage. That's so disappointing, though, for Paris fans, I think. But at the same time, I mean,
but do you not think they'll still be better? They'll still be better than some of the teams in the Atlantic, though.
It depends what moves happen. I mean,
it depends on moves in a direction.
Like actually,
they'll be better than Boston.
Yeah, but it's only Boston. It's only Boston that's staying at that bottom level.
Toronto doesn't have any players yet. We still don't know what they do.
But Toronto, Toronto have spent the big money to get a big coach, so they look like they're going in a positive direction. They look like they're spending the bag. So you're not expecting Toronto to be a bottom feeder team. Like at the moment, Paris look like they're going to become one of the bottom feeder teams.
I don't know who they're picking up.
I might be wrong. Yeah, I might be wrong on that. Actually, taking that back is because Mag and Decay end up with the Justice as
exactly. So like all of these bottom level teams are the ones that want to spend to get better, to reverse their reputations. So it's going to be the like teams at the top, like Paris.
I mean, they can't get worse. I mean, my lord. I mean, some of those games.
I'm looking at this team, and I'm seeing what is the downfall of humanity, guys? We all know what is it.
What? Yep.
What is the downfall of humanity? It is hubris is one of them, but also not reflecting on history, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And the history of your predecessors.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I don't know. I don't read books. I don't read books. So this must be in a book somewhere.
If you cannot learn from history, you are doomed to make the same mistakes.
Sure.
Right?
Yep. Who said that? Abraham Lincoln.
Me. I don't know who said it, but It was
who said that
in this moment. I don't know. I don't know who said that.
You said it.
I actually don't know. I'll look it up for you though, Matt, because you never read a book.
Oh,
so.
you were lying, Josh?
Wasn't
Abraham
Oh no, I was just saying a random person.
You can't lie.
Was it Socrates?
Aristotle.
I know that guy. Yeah.
Socrates.
Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. George Santayana, or maybe it was.
There you go.
Oh,
what did he do?
Could have been anyone. Anyway,
what if
the
they
point I'm trying to make here.
Vala?
I have a fucking point I'm trying to get past.
Okay, do it!
I'm trying to fucking put in my
Say
point.
it!
Johnny, shut up! The point I'm trying to make is there's so many teams have built on brand alone over the last 3 years, and it has never fucking worked. And them picking up and them keeping all of their French players and dropping, in my eyes, the most successful portions of the roster on Paris screams to me that they're like, oh, we could just be popular in France. It'll be fine. And yeah, Dallas tried that. They were the laughing stock of the league, and they have been for a good portion of the years that they've been involved. I don't think the method of building on brand and brand alone is good at all. You need to win. You need to win these days.
Well, I mean, some of the brands have just become the losing team. Yeah. Like some of the teams, you look at them in the league, and they're just like, oh, they're the funny team that fails, every year, and like, oh, they never change, and oh, they're the losers, poor the fans. And like most of the memes that come out of competitive Overwatch Reddit, it's just like, here's how to make fun of this franchise's fans because poor them, they're a shitty team. It's like you gotta get rid of that cycle.
I don't think you can correlate that either.
Aim higher than that.
Because we've seen some successful teams in the league not be able to like achieve like a level of fandom that they probably should deserve just off of the back of winning. I don't think so? You can kind of absolutely. I don't think you can kind of look at winning as like I actually think it's much harder to build the brand and then win than to win and then build the brand. Like
people care about winning more. I think my opinion
they
is
should. Well, I mean, people involved with like the brand itself or the team itself, like the people involved with the team would care about winning more because if they don't win, then those people are gone. It's not the people who are responsible for building a brand that are gone.
The great example here is the London Spitfire. And I think we really have to ask the London Spitfire fans, hey, how happy are you about the 2018 win? Because I could actually see some fans being like, yeah, winning was great and etc. But like, we were the London Spitfire. We were supposed to have the players like Cruz and Sp9rk1e and Fusions. We always bring up. And like, how much would they have rather had those kind of players when they were in the pubs, and they were... Because London Spitfire had tons of like fan events, and they were watching on the TVs and everything.
I don't think they did. Oh, no, sorry. I mean, they had fan events, but they didn't have any in-person events.
With the players, you mean? Or
yeah, they only had the one.
Yeah,
no. I meant like the fan. You go to a pub and you sit there and you watch on the TVs, etc. Like, would those people have rather seen like their favorite UK players, or did they really embrace that 2018 win? Because I think it's a legitimate question. I really do think that if you ask an honest fan what they would have preferred, I think it's a really good question.
My opinion on this is that in sports in general. Especially in the UK, if they're like a fan of like any sports franchise, they import a lot of talent from other countries. Like there's not a lot of like in football, there is a lot of homegrown UK football players, but in general, like they're no strangers to having imported talent, and that is what the London Spitfire was. And they won the fucking season, so like that is the best case scenario. And there were big fans of those players. Like the org made a good effort to try and connect the UK fan base over to the 2018 London Spitfire core.
Get out of my pub.
Yeah, you remember when they would get Stylosa in and he would make the YouTube videos with them and everything else.
That's great.
I think that's a great showcase of like, if you win, you're going to gain fans. But Dallas, I think, tried to build a stream team. And it didn't work. Who else tried to build like a team based on brand
Outlaws basically as well?
The Outlaws,
Toronto Defiant this past year.
Yeah, Toronto
Defiant a little bit. I mean, they haven't worked because there's.
So I've been following,
but Dallas and Houston did work. They have the largest fan base,
the biggest followings. Yeah, they do.
I have been following the social media metrics for these teams over the last 3 years. Yeah. And the Outlaws are one of the teams that are losing the most followers on social media out of any of the teams.
Really?
Of course.
Wow.
What, they're going downwards?
And this is when they kept their core roster back in 2019.
Wow. Detective Bren.
Like in terms
again.
of the actual growth of these organizations.
So who's growing then?
Oh, the teams that are winning.
Which teams?
I mean, Paris Eternal would be a good shock.
Philadelphia Fusion, Paris, but I mean, Paris is kind of, I don't know. Paris is such a unique entity because the French fans are so crazy. But
I also think Overwatch fans in general don't really like. They're not. It's not like a huge Twitter base like Call of Duty. Like you make a tweet about Call of Duty. I mean, you just get everybody comes out the woodwork. They want to talk about Call of Duty. Like Overwatch, like the fan base doesn't exactly kind of live on Twitter at times. It's like more of like Reddits and other types of.
So can you guys click on links?
What's sorry?
Can you guys even click on links? I don't know if you can even show this, but
no, I can't show anything on screen at the moment with our current.
I mean, just to give you an idea, if you go to what I've linked here, which is just the Social Blade link for the Outlaws Twitter, you go to monthly gained followers and look at that drop off. This year was particularly bad, but it started in 2019 over the course of the season. And I mean,
so are you saying that because they were not successful this year, people don't follow them on Twitter?
But I think this is the only thing we have as a measuring stick, isn't it?
For what?
Is like to see the fan like interactions, the engagement from fans, and how much that fan base is still interacting with that organization. Like this is one of the only measuring sticks we have. It hasn't been good for Houston. I mean, you compare this to other teams. What the fuck?
Yeah, I think
Philadelphia Fusion. Yeah. Comparatively, I've gained a fuck ton. Like, especially this year.
I think Philly's a team, though. Like how we've talked so much about, like, you know, teams that have worked and teams that didn't work. Philly is a team that kind of hit everything on like nail on the head, right? Because they have a player like Carpe who's very good and very popular, right? I know they've surrounded him with a lot of players that their fan base loves, and they're extremely competitive, right? Where teams, I think, have tried to do that, but not to the same level of success. Like, let's say for argument's sake, they had kept Decay and put just a little bit of a different team around him, and they end up kind of being a middle of the pack playoff team. Which, remind you, earlier in the season, like what Super was saying, they were like the third best team in NA or something like that, right?
A bit of a hot take, you know. Let's calm down.
Well, when Decay was playing, they didn't look bad. I mean, he was just dragging their bodies across the finish line. But I mean, they didn't look that bad.
No.
Let's say they picked up 2 or 3 players off of that, like middle of the season, or they had they went a different way with the roster, maybe a little bit earlier. We very well could not even be having this conversation. Like there would have been no need to blow it up.
Yeah,
they could have just kind of kept Decay and just added a few pieces.
Though.
If they made the additions that Paris Eternal did, they would have been as good as Paris Eternal.
We started
half of Paris.
We started this conversation though, talking about the Paris Eternal and saying that if they just go for like this cheap French squad kind of approach, are they actually going to be successful in terms of their popularity? But popularity aside, because it's difficult to measure, is this genuinely going to be a bad team? They still have FD God, Ben Best, soon Nico. That's still 4 French players that were playing quite a lot throughout the season.
I was going to say that.
And
only
it's not
FD God is under contract.
They weren't bench
players. Existing option before November 13th.
Yes,
so
but
we don't know if they're going to be part of it.
I would hazard a guess that they probably are still going to be part of it. Yes. I mean, I don't...
Yeah, just putting it out there.
Because, it is possible that those guys get dropped, like Ben Best, Nico, and Soon, but if you put them on the free market, they're probably not going to go anywhere. So I feel like that potentially like drives the price down a little bit as well, because Paris is their natural place to come back to. And also for Paris, for me, it makes sense because you can get these guys for not exorbitant prices, probably. And because also they're options, right? And so these options are based on their prices last year, probably, unless there's some kind of renegotiation built into them. But the prices last year would have been quite reasonable because none of these guys looked like they were popping off in terms of their career trajectory. So if you manage to secure these guys, these 3 people, Ben Best, Soon, and Nico, for a reasonable price, they've already benefited from the coaching of Sp9rk1e to the point where they understand the game to a pretty high level. And you could just put in a few more players around them that you believe are decent upcoming talent, and you could still have a competent roster here. It's not going to be world-shattering. It's not going to compete with the other teams that are trying to build super rosters, but it's going to be it's going to be Boston. It might beat Houston, depending on what Houston end up doing.
It might beat a handful of teams and be competitive with others. Because I thought you mentioned a great point, Josh. It's not like Nico, Soon, and Ben Best and FD God were just sat on the bench the whole season. No, like they played a ton.
They did, yeah.
Obviously, I don't think you're going to go into the market and find Hanbin 2. But you go find what? You go find like an EU contenders off tank. You add one more DPS, or they just hold on to Xe. I mean, we still don't know if they're gonna just trade him or let him go, or what's the deal. His tweet made it sound like he wasn't going anywhere.
Who was this?
Xe.
I still don't understand why Xe wouldn't have gone to Dallas. Xe was an Element Mystic player. They don't have a strong hit scan player on the roster right now. Doha and Sparkle's hero pools overlap quite a lot, and neither of them are like dedicated long-range hit scan players like Xe is. Why would he not go with them?
I mean, it could be a price tag issue or something like that, because he is under contract, as far as I know.
So here's Sparkle. I mean, it's the same situation.
They all were.
I mean, maybe Fuel just thought that Sparkle was more important and thought, we'll be fine without Xe, which makes me slightly worried, to be honest, because they genuinely don't have a hit scan player at this point.
But I think, though, what the shock almost proved with like Once is that I think you can go find a hit scan player. Like, I think you have a much better chance of finding a freak of a hit scan player who only plays like Ash Widow than finding like a jack of all trades player like a Sparkle who kind of plays multiple things at a high level.
I agree.
Like, if you were going to pick between the two, you would have the issue of going to find a hit scan player.
Why? But my thing is, like, why did they have to pick? You know, like if they're
because you probably wanted Hanbin. I think there's probably a lot of teams that wanted Hanbin.
But
Hanbin is fantastic, yeah.
But is your purse not big enough to go for Xe? Are you really going to try and pick up like some rookie talent? Because at that point, here's where I worry about the Fuel, is that if they actually decide to pick up like rookie talent to fill out the other 3, 4, 5 roles on this roster, then the alarm bells start ringing, because Fuel have not been good at that in the past.
Here's what Xe's tweeted. So Xe quoted a Halo tweet that Halo said I'm being asked, my current understanding is that Xe is not leaving Paris at this time. Though that may change. Xe quote tweeted that and said, "What?" with a question mark. He then quote tweeted the rush announcement to Dallas and said, "Miss you." Then he tweeted, "I'm sad," a crying face with the sparkle to the Fuel. And then he said, "I hope all the Paris players I played with, the coaches, the people who went to Dallas, and the players who will go to the other team will do well. I will miss all."
Okay,
that is suspicious.
Feels like there's like players going to another team, but I don't know. I think it's just a translation thing. I don't think that was entirely. But
yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're just holding on to him because they know they can get money from him.
But from who if not Dallas? You know, like Dallas makes the most sense out of anybody to go to.
I don't know.
Especially because they had the active rotation as well in Element Mystic. Like, it wasn't like they just had a consistent duo like we usually see in contenders that just did all of the work. They had an active rotation within the team in Element Mystic as well, because they recognize that Sparkle is incredible at some heroes, but not all. And we need to have a third DPS to really round out the roster. So it would make a ton of sense. So,
like, who could benefit from like a team that you think of who could benefit from a player like Xe would be like an NYXL. New York could probably benefit, especially without Nene. Somebody like that. Maybe a team, I was going to say like Atlanta. Would Seoul probably
they have
make much
Edison.
sense. Like, I mean, there's not like in the top teams, there's not a huge hole of hit scan, right? What could you make the argument? Maybe Hangzhou.
Depends which teams are paying at the end of the day, doesn't it?
It's hard to tell because we don't know the concrete rosters yet.
Right. Or you could say, do you send them to like Guangzhou and they build around like Eileen, Krong, and Xe, like, and have Xe kind of play instead of Happy? But I don't know. There's not a clear-cut spot for him.
I just want to say on the Paris Eternal as well. I just hope that they don't pick up like, oh, let's just take this random contenders players and like try to plug them in. Because I think what we really saw with the Paris Eternal this year especially was, yes, they had some phenomenal pickups to this team that like really helped round out the squad, but also the attitude change of this year as well, where they brought in some of these Korean players and then they had the French players as well playing alongside them and they had a great team culture, etc. That was very different from the 2019 Paris Eternal that I think we saw in Goat's meta. They struggled for a little bit. They had some strong pieces. They were supposed to be this Eagle Gaming kind of dominant force coming from Europe, but they didn't really accomplish that. I really liked the attitude change and sort of the brand of the Paris Eternal this year, where they were supposed to be like not the bad guys, but like sometimes they weren't afraid to speak their mind. And sometimes as well, people were like complaining about Nico, but then Nico really showed what he was about. People were complaining about Ben Best, but then he obviously became great and just like, don't give a fuck anymore. I think they need to channel that energy. And I really do feel like Paris Eternal could use that energy and just be like a team beater next season as well. Because that's like, in Overwatch history, that is what the French teams are known for. Like even Rogue back in the day, they were this team that like were the rivals of Envious, but they just beat the fan favorites all the time and they didn't give a fuck. They were just there to win. I think they can really channel that energy with a few pickups that really resonate with that kind of attitude and energy, and they could beat like a lot of teams, like upset a lot of teams next year, because that's just the way they practice. That's their mentality, and that makes a big difference in practice as well.
And like Josh said, they still have a large chunk of the roster that did play a considerable amount. They still have a lot of players who started a ton of games for them, so it's not like they're starting from ground zero per se yet again.
Who do you think the Dallas Fuel should pick up in order to, if their aim at this point should be to build a team that can contest the Shock, Shanghai, Philadelphia, the other super teams that are keeping their rosters and like setting the benchmark for success in the Overwatch League. They probably need another hit scan DPS. They need a main tank. Then they need 2 supports minimum. So they minimum need 4 players, in my opinion, to build out a 7-man roster. What should they be looking at here?
How ridiculous would it be to see them bring back OG?
Fucking hell, man.
No.
I think that would be. Do you think Rush would be able to? Every time it does feel like OG.
There's something there. Like
there really is. There is like, something.
No, that would be Dallas versus the Fuel. That's where it goes downhill.
Yeah, it would.
No.
I agree with Matt and Josh.
I'm not saying they should.
No, I think that there's potential there that they could. I don't think they will.
But look at what we saw. Like I almost put OG in the same group as Sada, where like these guys are so mechanically talented, they just need the right coaching and the structure to figure it out.
Hold up, didn't OG burn that bridge though?
I have no clue.
Oh, when he took a
picture of him standing on his fucking Fuel jersey on the day that he was playing against the Fuelers on the Gladiators.
I'm just thinking of if you can't trade for any other main tank and you're looking at like the free agency pool, like Mag just went.
I mean, you can.
Mag is obviously the biggest.
Just pick up Alpha. Don't go back to OG. It's like I've said several times, let OG go to some different team. But like he's like a volatile kind of like danger. He's like it's like uranium, and like chemical reactors and shit. Don't. He's too volatile. Just unstable power. Stay away.
Fuck ton of talent in contenders, in Korean contenders. I don't know why we're not just defaulting to that. Well, like it's a lazy approach, but if you do enough scouting, it's fine.
But do you think though? Like I assume a lot of the Korean contenders' talent will probably try and end up going to a team like a Guangzhou or one of the Asian teams because you'll end up staying in Korea. I think next year with players.
I mean, you just don't know. It's a generalization,
right? It is a generalization, but I think with
are we assuming
COVID and everything
Dallas
going on,
is staying in Dallas though? Like if all of their players are Korean.
I would assume so. If like the league is set up somewhat similar next year, you probably have to.
Well, that you would have said that about London as well, but London played in Asia this time, so there may be.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, maybe they could.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, you're working off of things that we.
Mac just got picked up by the Justice. Then there's Alpha, who played for Element Mystic. There's Muse and Oberon as well, who are both pretty good. And then if you look at Overwatch League as well, there's still Pokepo and Karayan, who.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a good shout.
I don't know. There's New York still has the option on mono till November, right?
True. Yeah. And if New York wants to try and jettison talent, then Mano's going to be a big pickup for.
A mono would be like
people.
I'd rather have Dallas have an aggressive main tank though.
I think Mano can be. Well, yeah. Why? What?
Are you dumb, Bren?
Why is nobody considering the recent winners of Overwatch Korean contenders?
Oh, the WGS team?
Yeah.
I have not watched that game, and I haven't followed WGS, so I don't know how good their main tank is. That is literally the reason why. But I
mean, this is the laziest approach, but it is a proven approach that works. It is picking up the winning team of Korean contenders.
They're usually pretty good.
Who did that before? Vancouver Titans in 2019, right? Who else do we have?
Bring back Fissure, dude.
No, I don't. Here's the thing: like, you can pick up existing players, but I think they're going to be asking for a high salary. I think you're definitely assuming your scouting is good, and generally speaking, I will have faith in Rush's scouting ability alongside Young. I should. I mean, they've got a good track record.
Should be meshing with the team.
It's definitely
not
been
individual skill. Meshing with the team more than anything. It's the main tank
role.
How
do you test for that?
You're not supposed to be the star player that like takes away the shine from Sparkle and Doha. And
how do you test for that though?
Yeah.
Well, you get to know your main tank and you see their personality and you can tell from their playing game. You can tell some main tanks are just like, boom, here's me making a play.
Do you think they would have no Smite to this roster? It's like a backup.
To Dallas.
If you were going to add someone like No Smite, you would need to have No Smite as just be the backup and have like some contenders tank as the one that you're actually going for.
Yeah, that because I think because they do have like some synergy, right, with No Smite and Hanbin. Like if they did sign a player from contenders and it went south, like he'd be a serviceable backup.
Also, Bren, probably the reason why people aren't talking too much about the recent winner of Contenders Korea main tank is that the meta was not like traditional main tanky. Sure. If I had to guess.
Yeah.
But for the hit scan, there are some interesting options. DM might be on the market because his Crystal's
on the market.
Shut up about Crystal, bro. And then they've got Glister could be on the market as well. I don't expect that Glister would go to a team like Dallas, but it is something interesting to think about.
What about
also Nene? I mean, Nene is a free agent. He's not someone where they even have to wonder about whether they're going to continue to pick up the contract.
They have to trade or whatnot. Yeah,
he's literally just a free agent. Someone like Nene, that could be just like a revitalization to his career if he just gets to focus in on the specialist hit scan role for them.
Because he was lights out when we first saw him play a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, the like just sticking really hit scan and like the tracer, right? Because this team also needs like a tracer player as well.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, both Sparkle and Doha occasionally have picked it up, but it's not a specialist situation.
No, it's and then the support line, right? They need to figure out what route they go there. I mean, this is something where I think you mentioned it, Bren, and it's like kind of like a default. But there is so much talent in Korean contenders.
Yeah.
That look at all the players that came through this year into the league. See, Johnny, that's what when I was streaming yesterday, a lot of my chat was like, "Oh, just bring in like Jexay and Repel and like some of the other Element Mystic players." And I'm like, I almost feel like that's a way for this team to kind of like falter out. It's like they kind of fill it with people that they've used in the past where they've had good results, but maybe the game has kind of evolved and there's better players out there in Korean contenders they could fill in.
You might honestly be right. I just kind of like Jexay. He's a cool guy. He's really friendly. Every time I logged into Overwatch, he would be like, "Hello, Reinforce. How are you today?" He doesn't speak like that. Why did I do that? But he'd be super nice and friendly, like out of nowhere. Like bring a smile to your face.
That is a rarity.
Yeah, my chat was like, bring in Pokepo, bring in Dako, bring in Repel, Jexe. I'm like,
literally just all old Element Mystic players.
Yeah. You can probably just go into free agency and find you can find better or equal talent that's like younger and more hungry. I feel like it's bringing contenders.
Yeah, I mean, even if you were going to consider people from Owl, if you're considering Jexe or someone like Slime, who's also a free agent, then I mean, you'd be tempted to pick up Slime unless you needed someone to be able to shock all. There's also Unique is an incredibly good main support in Korean contenders. Again, I'm not.
Did he used to play for Element Mystic? Yeah, I played for Element Mystic, right?
Yeah, wait.
With MCD?
Yes, I think so. My Contender's career knowledge is all over the place at the moment, but I believe he did.
All right.
Yes, he did. Yeah. He did. I just wanted to double check, make sure I wasn't talking shit. And then there's also like for some of the other talent out there as well. There's Toby and Sanguinar and Chara. There are a range of options. Even if they didn't get their first or second, they would still be in a situation where they've got good talent.
Isn't Shu a free agent as well?
I think
did we read that?
I think we read that.
Technically, but I think he's going to get re-signed, surely, right?
He would surely bring him to this team. Right? That would be like what I wanted for Dallas Fuel.
His existing contract is expiring, yes. But yeah, Shu would be ridiculously good, actually.
Yeah, he'd be a good fit, I think.
Yeah, I would take Shu over most of the Korean contenders talent, I think. Yeah, but
all right.
This team's in a good position.
Yeah. Yes. Exciting news for Dallas Fuel fans.
Right. Well, I think there's going to be exciting news for just... I mean, we'll talk about it more on Monday's episode, but Toronto gets KDG, which is a huge signing. As a coach,
we can't expend all of our juice, otherwise we're gonna fucking pump out the next episode.
Exactly, preview it for the fans, get hype.
Yeah,
and then we can dive deeper into just Washington adding Mag and Decay, bringing Decay back. I mean, you kind of look at Dallas starting with a clean slate and starting with Sparkle, Hanbin, and Doa. Starting with Decay and Mag is almost as good, right? I think those two players are just like top tier. So bringing Decay back was huge for them.
Yeah, you guys ready to wrap? I got shit to do.
Yeah. Good emergency episode, gang.
Good. Yeah, emergency. We nailed it. We're actually amazing at what we do. We should
urge people to drop a comment down below and give us name suggestions for these kind of episodes, because we could just call it like emergency Plat Chat or whatever, but that's not as fun. Maybe we can come up with an
emergency Plat Chat episode on free agency 2020.
Yeah, we absolutely should say in all caps, emergency must watch episode. That's it. That's
the exclamation point.
That's Smash glass for more Plat Chat.
I've been trying to like intake the way of the clickbait, because I've been trying to like boot up my YouTube channel.
So I want bangs.
Yeah, I mean a lot of
It's just a subtle way to promote Bren's YouTube channel.
A lot of capital letters. Yeah, youtube.com/c/Brencasts. You can check out my Valorant montages.
Among Us streams.
Among Us
streams.
Right, this is just. Am I supposed to close out?
Are you in gold yet? Are you in gold yet? Or out of gold?
In Overwatch? No, I'm still in gold.
How are you on Plat Chat when you're not even in Plat?
Me and Wyatt played some, and we invited more and more people, and we invited Get Deluxe, and we won a couple of games, and then we invited Noonie, and we just lost 5 games in a row. And I was playing, I kid you not, I was playing out my fucking mind. And
Go ahead. I was gonna play so I'm playing some Valorant yesterday with Paddock and Corey Dunn, and we were like, let's get Puckett in here, get some wild card energy up in here. Let's get Puckett.
Yep.
Puckett joined. Gold 1. Couldn't play. We were like, what the hell happened? You were gold 3. He turbo and did 9 straight games, 9 losses in a row. And then he couldn't play. He played 1 more and then got offline. And me and Corey tried to text him. We were like, you can't end like that. Get back on. He disappeared. We don't know where Puckett's gone.
Is he silver now?
I have no idea. He just literally just sent it down mid and for like a few hours and just solo queued into the abyss. Like
God.
Okay, well, thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna turn this off. Fuck.